Today on Chef Jeff, we're going back to the 1960s. This is the ground beef cookbook. It was originally published in 1967, and it is full of, it says on the cover, over 500 ground beef recipes, and it was all submitted by people all over the United States and Canada. And this book was recommended purchase for my mother when she was taking home economics class back in junior high school. And she kept the book, and there's a few recipes that she's made over the years, but the one she's made the most, and the one that my brother and I have enjoyed eating our entire lives, and we make it for our families now too, is called Hawaiian Hamburger, and this was submitted by Mrs. Iris Kosmak of Blue Hills, Alberta, up in Canada. Okay, the first ingredient in this is ground beef, of course, and we need 1.5 pounds. Now, the beef I bought today at the store is a 3-pound container, so there's two things we could do to measure it out. One, we could just, eyeball what half is, which would probably be okay. Or if we want to be exact, we can weigh it out. So I have my mixing bowl here. I'm setting it down on my scale, which right now is recording the weight of the bowl. I don't want that, so I'm going to press the tare button, and that zeroes it out. So now, as I start adding beef to the bowl, the weight starts going up. And eventually I'll come to 1 pound, 8 ounces. We're practically there now, 0.748. A little over, that's just fine. That'll work. Next thing we're going to put in is some onion. We need about a 1/2 cup of chopped onion. So we're going to do just like we did before in the soup. Recipe is we're going to cut the root off just a little bit. We're going to cut the stem part off. Okay, we're going to go ahead and cut it in half. We're only going to need about half the onion, so we're going to set that aside. And we're going to go ahead and peel our onion skin. All right. Now, trim a little bit more dry stuff off there. Now, when we made chicken noodle soup a couple episodes ago, I talked about how there's a proper way to dice an onion, and then the way to dice an onion for making soup because you're doing coarser cuts. Today we want more of a minced onion or a brunoise cut if we're being proper French here. So we're going to go ahead and dice our onion the proper way. So we're going to stew just like before. We're going to make much smaller cuts parallel to the root and stem direction. Through there. Then what we're going to do before we do this, we're going to come in to the edge of the board and we're going to slice in. Now be very, very aware of where your fingers are as you're holding this onion. Okay? There, about like so. Then we're going to turn our onion and do the third cut. And we're going to end up with nice little bits of minced onion. Now this works well because doing the inner cut gets the outer edge of the onion here where you wouldn't normally be able to cut it the first direction. So we're going to go ahead and finish dicing this, and we're going to throw it in our beef. Okay, now for the fun part. The next thing to put in the Hawaiian hamburgers are crushed up crackers. And so Cassidy here is going to take some soda crackers and she's going to stick them in this baggie here. And as soon as she does that, she's going to take a rolling pin and she's going to start crushing up the crackers. This is one of the first things that I got to help with when I was learning how to make this as a kid. All right, now that our crackers are crunched up, Cassidy's going to pour in about 2/3 of a cup into this measuring cup, and then she's going to add it to our beef and onion mix. All right, to round out our recipe, we need 2/3 of a cup of evaporated milk. Pour ramen in. And a teaspoon of seasoned salt. Over top of that. Now that everything's in there, we're going to take a wooden spoon, and first thing we're going to do is break up the meat a little bit, make it easier to mix everything together. And once the meat is mixed up, and the evaporated milk is starting to incorporate itself also, then we're going to start putting stuff in and folding it together. So we're going to go ahead and mix this up until everything is pretty much, as homogeneous as it can be, and then it's going to sit and stand up a little bit. While it's standing, we are going to make the sauce, so we'll be right back. All right, while the meat mix sits and comes together, we're going to go ahead and start on the sauce. So the first thing we need is 2 cans of pineapple rings. Now the original recipe called for chunks, but we like rings, so that's what we use here. And what we're going to do is we're going to open them, and we're going to pour all the liquid, the pineapples for now, we're going to pour as much of the liquid as we can into a 2-cup measuring cup. Once I've drained all the liquid off, I'm going to go ahead and add water up to the 2-cup mark, and I'm going to add it to my pot. So I'm going to do that, and we'll be right back. Okay, now that our juice is in the pan, we're going to go ahead and add some brown sugar into our pineapple juice. And we're going to add an equal amount of soy sauce and distilled vinegar. All right, once that's in there, the last thing we have to add is some cornstarch. So, our cornstarch here, we need about a 1/4 cup. And when you're portioning cornstarch, try to resist the urge to just pour it out into the measuring cup, because cornstarch very much does not like to pour very well and flow, right up to the point that it does. And once it decides it does, it's going to be all over your hand, all over your arm, and all over everything except where you want it to be. So, the safest way to do this is to get in with a spoon and spoon it out into your measuring cup. So I'm going to go ahead and get that taken care of. Just a little more. And then we're going to put it into our soy sauce, sugar, vinegar, pineapple mixture. Like so. I'm going to grab a whisk and stir it together and get it on the stove. Alright, now we're at the stove with our sauce. I'm going to go ahead and just take a wire whisk and mix the cornstarch into the rest of the liquid. So it's going to turn a very, tan color here with all the starch. And then we're going to put our burner onto about medium, a little over medium high. And this is going to cook while we form the hamburger patties. And you want to come back every minute or two to stir it and check, just to make sure that, your cornstarch isn't, 1, burning onto the bottom of your pan, and 2, just to see, how far it is along the cooking. Because once it boils, that's when the cornstarch has achieved max thickening, and that's when your sauce is done. So you'll tell when it's getting close, because you'll see little pockets of dark brown start to appear in your sauce. And when that happens, you're really close. So, you know how kids love playing with slime? Well, what we're going to do here is just like playing with slime, but a lot better for you. You agree? Yeah. So we're going to take our meat mix here, now that it's sad time, all the liquid's absorbed in the crackers, and it's all good and ready to go. We're going to pull out a hunk about that size, about the size of a tennis ball or so, maybe a little smaller. Okay. Then you're just going to start forming patties. Now, the original recipe says you're supposed to take this much and make 6 patties out of it, which is absolutely huge. So what we're going to do is we're going to make little smaller patties, and that way we can have more than one, and it looks nicer on the plate too. So once we make our patties, we're just going to go ahead and lay them here on our cutting board, and as soon as they're done, we'll start cooking them. While we're forming our patties, our sauce is doing its thing, and you come in and take a look, you can see little dark dots starting to form within our sauce mix, and that is little bits of cornstarch starting to set and make the sauce thick. So it'll only be a matter of minutes before this is boiling and our sauce will be done. Okay, we're back here at our griddle, and now this thing has a thermostat on it, so obviously know how hot it's supposed to be. But if you're frying these over on the stove in a frying pan, one way to test to make sure that your pan is hot enough to go is take a little bit of water, stick it on your fingers, and drop it onto your pan. And if the water starts bubbling up and dancing like that, you know you're ready to go. Okay, we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of nonstick spray and just put a light, even coat on our griddle. Now these shouldn't stick, but this is an extra safeguard to ensure they don't. And now that it's ready to go, Cassidy is going to go and start putting patties on the grill. We're going to brown them on both sides, and then we'll put them in the oven with our sauce to bake as finished. browning on the first side, and right as we finish doing that, our sauce begins to boil. This is exactly what you want to see. So now that it's boiling, we're going to go ahead and cut our heat and get it off the hot burner and let it sit and rest. Alright, it's been about 4 to 5 minutes, and we're going to go ahead and turn our patties over. We're going to get under here with our spatula and support it a little bit with your other hand as you turn it over, because they're still a little bit on the delicate side. Okay? You don't want to splatter yourself either. Go ahead and turn all these over. We're going to brown them for another 3 to 4 minutes, then we're going to transfer them to our 13x9 pan, add the sauce and pineapple, and it's going to go in the oven. Alright, we have our lovely brown hamburger patties in our baking dish. And what we're going to do next, we're going to take our pineapple rings. We're going to top our patties. A little extra juice is okay. And I personally feel that the pineapple is the best part of this dish, so I don't mind having a little extra pineapple. And once we've done that, we go ahead and take our sauce and ladle it over top our patties and pineapple. We're going to go ahead and put this in our 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes. Let it all bake together. Alright, 15 minutes have elapsed and our hamburger patties are out of the oven and on our cutting board. Now, before we serve them up, one thing, totally optional, but one way to pretty up your plate, make it look a little more professional, is to have a garnish. And what we're going to do is use green onions for our garnish. So I have rinsed and dried these off. And the best way to slice them, get them all bunched up, is called on a bias. So you're going to take your knife, and instead of going straight on, you're going to go at an angle. And you're going to take your time, keep the toe of your knife on your cutting board, and just glide through, making little ribbon cuts. Alright, now to serve it up, we're going to get in here, grab a couple of our hamburger patties with our pineapple rings. If you want, you can get in here with a spoon, grab some extra sauce, ladle over the top. Okay. Now, remember our cheesy mashed potatoes from our last episode? So that is the perfect accompaniment to the Hawaiian hamburgers. So we made a little more of that. We're going to just go ahead and put a nice healthy serving on the side. And then we're going to take our green onions and just do a light sprinkle over top of each. And there's our completed plate. A copy of this recipe is in the video description. I encourage you to try it out at home. If you do, let me know how it goes in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel. Press the little bell notification next to the subscription. That way you'll get a notice every time I post a new video. So thank you so much again for watching, and we'll see you next time.